As Tommy meets Cammy and Monty, Angela goes to end things with Victor. Safe to say, everyone is expecting a little more to the character that Demi Moore is playing. Filling in on Rick's accident, Tommy highlights that Rick should have better known than to stand on pipes of uneven sizes, so it is negligence on his side, and not something they can be blamed over. Tommy then tells him about the cartel incident and the crew refusing to work on the field, so Monty decides to make a few phone calls to deal with that matter. While that happens, a longing and sad look on Tommy's face can be seen, seeing how filthy rich Monty is. Nate and Rebecca go to the Medina family's house where they offer them the $25,000 of bereavement offer with their signatures that they have received them. Nate tells them a little more about their medical insurance and other policies, making Luis's wife ask them what they want in return. Nate tells them they want nothing in return. The other two sign it while Ariana asks about a legal statement, which means they are not liable to make a case that the accident was their fault in the next 10 years. She asks them what if it was their fault, but Nate tells them it wasn't. Ariana still questions about it, so Rebecca intervenes, telling her she can give up this money, hire a lawyer, and prove it was their fault. Nate interjects, telling her he doesn't want to fight, but just offer some bereavement and end this offer. Ariana questions why they'd give them money if it wasn't their fault, so Rebecca tells him because it is cheaper than proving in court that it wasn't their fault. Excusing herself, Ariana makes a call to Cooper, but Walt picks it up. He asks for her relationship with Cooper and her last name while telling her about Cooper getting brutally attacked by some people, so he is in hospital undergoing surgeries. She tells them she knows who must have done that and asks them about the hospital. Without signing the settlement papers, she rushes off to the hospital. When Angela reaches her own house, she cannot meet Victor and the lawyers are already waiting for her to sign the divorce settlement that claims she cannot have anything inherited since she cheated on Victor with Tommy. However, all the gifts and clothes belong to her. That is all Angela wanted because her Bentley was a gift to her. Victor also signs some funds for Ainsley till she turns 18, along with handing a letter to Ainsley showing he wasn't an entirely bad guy. Stealing some wine bottles and getting into the car, she takes her leave rather annoyed because there are a bunch of girls hanging around Victor's house already. Monty and Tommy are talking business when Nate calls Monty's phone to talk to Tommy. Reaching out to Tommy, he informs about the attack on Cooper and that Ainsley is in the hospital right now. Tommy hurriedly takes his leave. Angela calls Tommy, wanting to rant about feeling bad about herself on how things ended and how replacements of hers are already there for Victor, but Tommy hangs up on her, wanting to call Walt. Walt tells him about the punctured lung, the shots he had taken on his head, and that he was care-flighted to the hospital. Walt shares that Manuel is a suspect, so Tommy tells him he will handle it with Walt. He then calls Angela, telling her Cooper was attacked, and calms her into driving to the hospital while he does too. Ariana reaches the hospital and waits in the waiting area for some news. When the doctor comes in about Cooper Norris, she also stands up with Dale and Ainsley and gets to know his surgery was completed, but he is still under observation to see if he is okay now. Ainsley asks who she is, and Ariana questions the same. After knowing Ainsley is his sister, Ariana tells him she is much more complicated to explain. Ainsley tells her that explains enough about her. Later on, Ainsley is a little surprised to see Ariana filling a bottle with breast milk, but she doesn't question anything. Flying on her Bentley, Angela reaches earlier than Tommy but waits outside the hospital, not wanting to act out in front of her injured son. She gets to know he is doing better but waits for Tommy to go in. Tommy calls Boss, telling him about the situation and that he will handle this tonight. The three waiting finally visit Cooper. Dale lightens the mood even though Cooper's face looks wrecked. Ainsley seems worried, but Cooper uses a little of his mouth to mock her, so she also adds that she missed her first patch party for him. The two then leave for Ariana and Cooper to talk. Cooper tells her not to blame herself for it and that Manuel definitely did it for himself rather than Elvio. Tommy reaches and enters the hospital with Angela. Ainsley tells them Cooper is talking to his girlfriend. Confused, Tommy walks in while Angela hugs Ainsley. Tommy meets Walt, who also has the same statement, confusing Tommy even more about his girlfriend. Entering the room, Tommy holds his surprise seeing Ariana, but doesn't say much about the situation. Cooper is sleeping, so Tommy asks Ariana about her and her baby. She is still emotional about the situation. Angela walks in and has a huge breakdown seeing Cooper. Tommy mocks her for wanting to be strong, but she cannot hold it, and it wakes Cooper up. Tommy calms her down a little, telling her to go out, take a Xanax, and come back to meet Cooper when she feels at ease. Angela agrees and leaves. Ariana also takes her leave when Tommy asks her about the other names, because as the boss, he is going to meddle when the employees are acting this way. After knowing there were two more people from another crew, Tommy tells him to handle Ariana's matter carefully, as she is hurting right now and just trying to find something to put it in. Cooper tries to justify, but Tommy telling him no other widow is seen in the hospital for their helpers is enough to make Cooper silent. Before leaving, Tommy also adds that he can see this is not the first beating he took for the girl, because this is the kind of beating one gets after not listening to the first one. Tommy then walks out with Dale and Walt after calling the security to cut the cameras of the dorms. Reaching Manuel and Antonio's room, he knocks, making them freak out. He calls them to open the door and beats them straight away, taking Antonio inside to beat the other two names out of him. They talk to Manuel. Tommy confronts Manuel that he messed with the wrong person because the amount of charges he is going to add up on him are going to take 30 years of his life away from him, and he better not show up around here for those 30 years then. Walt comes in and arrests Manuel. Boss and others come out that Antonio gave the other names. Meeting Antonio, Walt asks him to repeat the names. Antonio asks if they are going to take him with them, so Walt tells him it depends on the reason. Antonio tells them he will give a reason, so Walt buys a moment from the others to be alone with him.